Yeah, I don't know that Kristen's going to be back next year. She might be. And then Katie Edwards from Duncanville, she'll be back next year. But a lot of us on the Dallas pack, I mean, it's kind of like end of term, so we're all going to be rotating off, or our kids are rotating out. So, I don't know what pack is going to be. It'll be interesting to see how it, because all of the originals are going to be gone. Like this will be kind of like the whole first one. Sure.
This is kind of like the Baptist church.
Right.
It's like the Baptist church. Oh, hello, Dr. Estes. How are you today?
The white one's not the I mean,
come in. No, you can. Oh, hello, Dr. Estes.
anyway, but it was good. I would say that it was a.
I know.
Alright, well, that's good. I know Steph won't be here.
So excited about
I know, I have advantage.
Dr. Estes is the man in education.
I'm familiar with the name.
Okay. Are you getting ready to start?
Yeah, she said it's John's house. Dr. Estes, good to see you. We missed you. I heard that was very clear for you.
If we're not back, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, where's on the agenda?
I think you're right there, sir. Yes.
I want to slide back there with you. I want to confront her head if I need to. I know, just never know.
I'm here to heckle the president.
Oh, yeah.
You mean vice president?
No, President.
Well, she's had her share of heckling.
Like last time, I lost my balance a little bit.
I mean, our kids would be fun.
My poor kids, they can set up my whole, I can go through the setup, they can get my presentations
And son, you know, it's lost your balance.
Big deal. Right.
Yeah. Oh, but anyway, kind of discouraging. Thing is, you know, miss their life. I was in a really low spot 3 weeks ago. Man, this is going anywhere. It's like better, you know, I'm going to live with this, which is good. Yeah. So it's going to be better.
Well, I was out there Saturday.
So,
Let's go. We can visit all night, right?
well, hell, let's do that. Let's do that.
Well, we could. How are you tonight? That's pretty amazing.
Well, after 20 years.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to. We have a new board member. First meeting. Andy Wolfskill is here tonight. And y'all, he could be getting in your head right now. You may not even know it. You know,
He's already done an evaluation.
That's he could be right now. So
Speaking notes.
I'm afraid of that. So Andy, glad you're here. Okay. So let's get started. Larry, I'm going to ask you if you would please open us up with a word of prayer.
Happy. Heavenly Father, we are very, very thankful to God for your love, for your mercy. Dear Lord, for the strength and health that you give us, dear God. The abilities, dear Lord, of this group. Dear Lord, we ask that you guide us, that you give us, dear Lord, insight and creativity, dear Lord, and dear Lord, a stewardship, dear Lord, and the burden and the care for the duties that you have given us, dear Lord, that we may, dear Lord, perform with excellence, dear God, for your glory, for your honor, dear Lord. That every topic, dear Lord, bring glory to your name, dear Lord. Be with everyone, dear Lord, as they speak, as they present the ideas or reports, dear Lord. In the name of Jesus, we pray, and we give you all the glory and honor. Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we got a good agenda tonight, so we ought to be out of here by midnight, I think. If we really work hard at it. But, okay, we're called to order, and now we need to have a motion. Y'all had a chance to look at those board minutes from our last meeting. Can I get a motion? Motion? Okay, second? All approved? Aye. Okay?
Hey, Mark, can I make a statement?
Yeah.
So you'll know, John's back is in really bad shape. So I told him, so he gets to sit on that, walk around a little bit because it's hard to sit there. So you'll know he's not upset. He just having a difficult time sitting.
Okay. All right. I understand Mr. Jean is not going to be here tonight, so we got a pinch hitter.
Right.
And that would be Taylor.
I'm Mr. Zoo.
Okay. So tell us how we are doing financially.
Okay. We're going to look at the financial, this little dashboard first, the one that's on the top. So you can see that all of the indicators on the left look really good. We've been in the good category on all of those for a very long time now. So everything's good. Our cash on hand, our administrative ratio, keeps the staff. So we're looking good in all of those areas. One thing I wanted to point out is in the activities in progress or accomplished is we have preliminary Charter First rating, which that is our financial report card from the state. And preliminary rating says we have a superior. We don't have the final product yet, or the final report. But it looks like it's going to come back as superior, which is not really a surprise, but we're very thankful, happy about that.
Awesome.
We have had our 2017-18 audit. The auditors were here last week and spent several days on our campus. They've also worked off campus. And I did have a chance to visit with them the last day they were on campus. They were very complimentary, said that everything was really great. And they plan to have, they should have, the ready to so we should You see our total account balance is about 2.7 million for our accounts. I would say, and I think Mike usually tells me to keep this in mind, but that we are on expedited TEA income from TEA, so we have to keep that in account. We have money in there that we have not spent yet on our students, so we spend it slowly. So that's one of the reasons that we have that much money in our accounts.
I think it's about, probably about 200,000 a month for cost of our people. That is paid for 3 months, and so about 360,000 of that is going to be prepaids. So it's really not 2.7, but it's over 2 million.
We have to hang on to that because we're going to spend it as we go. Okay, any questions about that before we go on? Okay, let's look at our breakdown of our expenses. So you're going to see on the consolidated form the expenses for both campuses. This is combined. So actual budget over there on the right side, our income, we're about 9% ahead of projection, and you will see that we're about 8% for our expenses. So we're in good shape. We're not outspending what we're bringing in. We do have a little large variance on the instruction, and I'm going to explain that when we get to the Dallas campus. Besides that, we're pretty good with not a lot of overage in our categories, our line items there. Well, over in general administration, which is administrative cost, and some of Gene's cost in that, and the data processing for the services that we use with him.
Part of the reason for that is that he's also assumed all the accounting for the construction and for the bonds and for the filing of the bonds, so his is a little bit higher generated based on that.
He's also been giving us support for child nutrition and our federal and state funding programs, and I just sent him an email last week and said, we're good with child nutrition. We've been training someone in those areas, so we're going to let go of that support from him, so his bill will decrease a little bit. We're still training with the federal and state funding piece of it, and we'll still continue to use him some for that, but hopefully just for a few more months. And then we'll be able to drop that support also.
Though, keep in mind that far column on the right-hand side, when you see, let's say for instance, it says 9% on the instruction. If you take it and just break it out over 12 months, it's about a little over 8% for the first month. So if you see something that runs over the 8%, that's an overage as opposed from a budgeting standpoint versus the ones that are under. So.
Okay, so if you will go to the next page, this is the Dallas campus report, and you can see on the instruction line item, that's code 11, we are about 16,000 to 17,000 over. Part of that is that some of our August expenses were expensed to September, and this is through September the 30th. And also the heavy cost of starting school with curriculum and instruction materials also come out of that. So we'll keep an eye on it, but that should level out as we go through, because we're always incur heavy costs at the beginning of the school year. So we should see that leveling out. But we'll be keeping an eye on that.
I think the other kind of thing to note was we had a fire, so expenses. We did have a fire. That some of the expenses to get those things to happen are reflected in September's numbers. The issue about that is that on the fire, we essentially broke even. You don't want to lose money, but we didn't make any money either, so it's about at a break even. But it raises your expenses on this sheet.
Okay, Duncanville's looking good. I think both Dallas and Duncanville, you'll see that the revenue was 9%, right at 9%, and the expenses at 8%. So that held true to the overall statement. So I think Duncanville's looking really good. We're doing well.
Well, your expense.
I think it's other. It would be called other revenue.
Other revenues.
yet.
Yeah, that's what we-
Because it's not even under state or federal. And I'm not even sure we have gotten all of that insurance money yet.
I think we're close. That's a good question. I'll find out for you. Some of them could have been reflected in the month before on the revenue side, which means that would still be late.
I just asked when the insurance money was deposited
Probably
on the fire.
But, and we'd have to go back and got it, but what happens is that when they gave us the payment from the insurance company, it probably happened the month before the expenses hit. But we still have to be done for them.
Okay, and then the last page is our balance sheet. So you can see the total assets as compared to the liabilities here on that sheet. Anybody have any questions?
One thing to note, you'll see in the construction in progress, you'll see that we've spent so far $3,252,780 on a $12 million budget so far. We're about 38 to 40% complete. So we're right in line on that. So everything's looking good.
All
I think you have to make a motion to accept.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to accept them? John? Okay. Have a second? Second. Drew, thank you. All in favor? Aye. All right. Now we'll hear from Mike's. Mike, you got a report you want to tell us about?
Yeah, some time ago, we talked about, in our research, what we found is that the child speaks English in the home, they do better in school. So with that, we sat down with Pastor Laura and Pastor Andrade and tried to figure out a way that we can make that happen, okay? So we wanted to do, this is for the parents, not for the kids, because they have ESL in school. So we sat down and over the summer, they were involved with kind of a trial balloon on this at a different location. Would you say you had about 15 to 20 parents?
Right, 16
parents to do this. And so what we're planning on doing is bringing this to the Duncanville campus in January and start with that. And we're starting small. There's a lot of churches that do this already. And so it's Pastor Laura and I both are the two volunteers we have so far. And we sat down and came up with a budget about what we think. This is not a revenue producer. We're not doing this for the revenue. It's an expense, and for the first, it's in 8 weeks, Pastor. It's in an 8 week segment. So for the first 8 weeks, it'll cost about $1,000. So the way we have it set up, it's not a school function, even though it's for a school. It's actually going to be run on the books at the church, and we've raised half of the money. And if anybody would like to donate to the cost, it's only like $1,000 to get the program going the first time. We already have $500 in donations, and if anybody would like to donate to that, it's a worthy cause. Because the other thing too is what we're trying to give back to the community in an area where if they speak English, they'll do much better than if they don't speak English. And correspondingly, I would say this to Chief Shannon, is that technically when it's speaking English in the home, you know, it's helping their English at school too. So we'll start with that.
Okay, so how'd you donate?
You donate to Pastor Laura's, this Pastor Andrade, they're in the same church.
Donate to the church.
And it's called Pastor Laura, what's the name? They want to help each other.
Oh, Central University.
Right.
Central?
Central is CNTRO, and Familiar is familiar, spelled the same. And then Cristiano is CRISTIANO.
And currently, there are no paid people in this. These are volunteers. And so, if anybody like to volunteer in this, we welcome that. It's going to be every Tuesday night for 2 hours. So, if you're interested in that, or if you want to donate to that, the other thing too, through the church, you'll get a tax exemption on there, so you can write some taxes.
What's the curriculum like? It seems like 8 weeks is long.
Yeah, and this is, the $1,000 is to buy the curriculum for them. And what they found was of the 16 people, this is the teacher's manual, but of the 16 people, nobody paid. So we're making no bones. These are people that have a hard time making it. So we're not charging them anything.
There's a lot of that. I was just curious.
Yeah.
That
This is
short
it.
of time, how much you have to work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Doesn't sound like it's long enough, right?
Well, the way that it will happen was, the other thing too, you still have to have volunteers to do this. So we're hoping to get a lot more volunteers than just the 2 of us doing it. But it's going to be like in modules, like 8-week modules. So our goal is not to teach the first one only, it's to teach them conversationally, probably year round. Now my daughter started, she didn't start, but she participated for about the last 6 years at First Baptist Euless. And I just went to a function and they had over 100 people in about 10 languages. So it's one of those things I think are probably not going to be too little.
There's plenty of demand.
Plenty of demand, and we think in Duncanville is very appropriate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, question, to volunteer, do you need to speak Spanish or it's just?
We're going to be using Literacy Achievement program here in Dallas. They have 4 campuses, but they wouldn't be able to use our site as a campus. But we will use them as a model, scheduled to meet with them again on Monday and talk more specifically as to the particulars in order to roll out the program and see the options. Also, this Saturday, going to go to a training session. I participated in it in the summer, and I have not taught the material. Basically, it's an hour orientation for the volunteers with the administrator. They show you the books. They give you kind of a schedule so that you can look over the material and be ready to present. There's multiple levels. We will start with rudimentary type things, and as the courses evolve, then we'll add more different levels, and then we'll have time to recruit new volunteers. But this program has been around, I believe, 10 years, and all they use are volunteer teachers. So, and the experience varies, okay, as to the teachers, but the material is pretty straightforward. You just follow what the guidelines are, the material, and then very simple and plenty of auxiliary materials in addition to what is presented here. There's CDs, there's online type material. So it's extensive for them to really be able to, not only in the class, but outside of the class also be learning. So it's very good. It's worked out, and it's been successful.
The more you get into this, the more interesting it gets. I mean, how many different dialects do they have? 15 or 20 dialects in our area, from Honduras to Ecuador to all those different places. They're all in the mix. And so the other thing too was, what we found was, we talked about this for about a year before we were getting started, but what we decided to do was, by doing it through the church, we can go much faster, less bureaucracy, and then we get a tax benefit by donating. That's right, we get it back to the church. So,
Do we know what percentage of our families currently don't speak English as a primary language?
I don't know that we asked that, and Shannon probably would want to ask. we know how many are Hispanic.
Dashboard. I can tell you how many are Hispanic on our campus. I don't know that I have well, I can tell you that we have 47.5% list their ethnicity as Hispanic on our campus. And then students that qualify for English as a second language and limited English proficient is 6.73%. But those are only the ones that qualify or desire services. They are able to opt out and say, and we do have several students that the parents have said, we don't want any assistance. And there's really not a lot legally we can do about that.
Well, the other thing too is, that some of them don't want to be out there front, and they want to be blended in. So what we're trying to do is make it easy to get into and learn. I mean, definitely get better jobs, and this has a whole lot more to offer than just that we're teaching so they can teach their kids. But
I will say that we're informally aware of which families on our campus speak very little English or mostly Spanish, so that we can offer translation services if they come in for a parent conference. Almost all of those occasions, we will ask Sada'i to come in and be our translator, but most of those families, they're kind of like me. I took 4 years of Spanish in high school. I understand Spanish when I listen to it or when I read it, but I don't speak it well. They have the same experience in English. They understand English well, they may not speak it as well. So a lot of times we don't even really need her to be the go-between, because I understand enough of their Spanish and they understand enough of my English. But we are informally aware of which families will need our services.
well, and the other thing too, you tell them you appreciate them, we
Yes.
care about you, we're going to help you learn English. And so, I mean, there's just so many benefits to this whole thing. And we started out as about teaching the kids, but I think this is going to go way beyond that.
We're very grateful for Mr. Spurlock and Brother Laura and Pastor Andrade putting this program together. They've worked very diligently. She has, yes.
So, Sada'i is the receptionist at the Duncanville campus, who's very pleased.
A great benefit, not only conversational English type, but the benefit that the parents will be able to help the student as they learn. I think that that'll be a great benefit, and instrumental as to how successful they are in their schoolwork.
Parents that don't speak, what's their education like?
It does vary. A lot of them do not have, there's some that did not complete elementary. There's some that might have completed high school. And then there's others that have college degrees in Mexico or El Salvador. They have professional, they've received degrees, but they're not able to work in those jobs. And so they have a lesser position and earn less. And so it impacts them. But I could see where this would be beneficial all around, and even in the workplace. And also for obtaining citizenship, it would be helpful there too.
Don't y'all have that step to citizenship through the church? Don't y'all offer some benefits to that?
Yes, we do have an immigration program
In the church.
certified and recognized by the Immigration Services, but the English course is not offered at this point. So this would be a welcome addition. In fact, in our very basic course, there was a student that was sent to us by the immigration organization within the church. It's called Poder Inmigrante. So they assist in obtaining and submitting applications into the immigration.
We'll come back, try to get on your agenda after 8 weeks, and kind of tell you where we are, where we stand, and you can kind of see it. I think it's one of those things when people understand it, it's exciting because you're really helping not only the student but the families. Kind of assimilate into the population. So it's good.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, so this is really open mainly to the parents of the Duncanville?
It'll be open to them. It'll also be open to the people at his church too, if they want to.
Okay.
And so we're hoping to get some volunteers out there at church.
Possibly some of our Dallas families too.
Oh, yeah,
Because we do
yeah.
have some families that
Yeah.
only speak Spanish at home.
Yeah,
Not as
we'll put
many.
it out there and let y'all kind of promote it from within. But we probably, unless we have more than 2, we'll probably start small with the 15. But if we have 5 or 6 that want to do it, we might, bump it up some. The one key I think though in this too is this is one of those things you start, you need to keep going. Yeah, because if you have this where I come and then, okay, we don't, then it loses continuity, so, yeah, so.
This organization obtains volunteers through volley.org. It's an organization that connects volunteers with their different expertise with the organizations and the needs that they have. They basically put it online. They have a group of people, they email a list of we need volunteers in these areas. And so on there, they list literacy sheets that needed volunteers in this campus, that campus, and that's how I ended up participating on it. And it wasn't, it required work, but it wasn't overwhelming, and I was able to enjoy being a part of it. So we'll be able to recruit volunteers if we use that organization, volley.org, VOLY. So we have a chance of obtaining them, and it only took maybe 3 weeks for me to be ready to teach the course, and I was in there ready.
So
it was fun.
If a parent desires to volunteer, who would they contact? Who would be the main contact for them to reach out to?
Probably either the 2 of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll contact them back, kind of let them know.
All right, great. Well, that sounds very interesting. All right, well, let's keep it moving. And Kaylee, you have tell us about the student retention report.
Yes. Before we talk about that, I just want to mention a couple of things. You guys probably noticed how busy it was when you came in. Tonight, this is a busy, busy place. We have a volleyball game going on our new floor. We're very excited about. And you'll notice that Ginger's a Lone Ranger back there tonight because Carolyn also is our admissions coordinator, director, and she is holding a parent information meeting at the same time tonight as we're doing this. We have already started those parent information meetings for enrollment for next school year. So this is either our 2nd or 3rd one. We'll continue doing those. Enrollment opens in January, so we cannot start too early getting information out to people who are interested in the school. We have a lot of seats to fill for next year, so it's really important that we hold these meetings. So that's happening tonight while we're having this board meeting. We had a very busy weekend. It was homecoming weekend this last weekend, and probably the principals are going to share some things about homecoming, so I won't say a whole lot, but it was some really fun, great activities, well attended and received by our parents. I thought it all went extremely well. There were things all the way from elementary to 12th grade for our kids to do and be a part of. So that was really great. The other thing we have coming up is that we were approached by Channel 11 to be one of their spotlight schools. They do these what they call live pep rallies, where they come to your school and film. You may have seen it, and you get spots for about 2 hours. So they are going to be here on our campus on Friday, November the 2nd. And we are going to have to start filming at 4:50 in the morning. So all of our kiddos have to be here at 4:50, and we're going to be on, and we're going to be excited about being on television for 2 hours, and we're going to have some tired kids. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. And so we're planning that right now. It takes a lot of planning to get with the different groups that we're gonna spotlight and have them prepared to do something. They will have anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 minutes, right, Ginger, to be on the air. So they have to be prepared. So it'll be a lot of our students speaking. And our PAC president is also going to speak, Lacey Poole. So watch us on November the 2nd. We're going to be on TV. A couple things I wanted to point out is that I did, the principals are going to talk specifically about STAR results from last year, and you guys know that we did well. We had an A for our school report card from TEA. So that means that those STAR scores were really good. But I wanted to point out a couple of things to you. When I was looking through some of this data, our total attendance rate last year, our average daily attendance rate was 96.9, so about 97% for average attendance rate. That's fantastic. And that's part of why we can do as well as we do, because our parents are committed and they have their kids here when at all possible. And so we can continue with that high attendance rate. We're going to be able to do really great things. A couple other things that I thought were notable, and I hate to steal anybody's thunder, but when we talk about STAR scores, when I was looking at these percentages, our kids that not just pass but are in the mastery column, meaning they mastered that skill, that test, is anywhere from 18% of a grade to over 50% of a grade.
Wow.
That are in the mastery column. So you're going to see more specifically that in a minute, but I think that's very impressive. The other thing that I wanted to say is that there are 4 areas that we were graded on our report card. And a couple of those areas we scored so well in comparison to other schools in the state. The area that was called comparative academic growth, so growth from one year to the next, we ranked number 7 in the state of Texas. And that's not just ISDs, that's individual schools. We ranked number 7. So.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, right, number 7 in.
How much progress our students made, right. And then the other area we ranked really high in was closing the gaps, meaning we're closing education gaps between our school groups, our population, and we ranked 14th in the state. So when you consider how many schools they're scoring, those statistics are good.
Well, the other thing, Dr. Estes, I'd like to hear what you have to say on this, because one of the other things that's interesting is in the area around us, Grand Prairie is a C, Fort Worth is a C, Duncanville was a C. The only one other A was Mansfield, kind of surprisingly. But those are where we're drawing students from that are in the C category, and for us to have a 94A, that shows you the progress they're making in our system. So that's amazing to me. I don't know, what do you think about that? A 94A, that's just phenomenal.
That is excellent.
So in the 2 categories they track us on the financials, which is Charter First, we have 100 score, which is, that doesn't happen either. And then we have this 94 with the improvements in that improvement area. So I think that's just unbelievable. And I think that's what we've got for our teachers. The other thing too is to come out of RT in 1 year. IR is come out in 1 year. Nobody can believe that. It usually takes at least 2 years to come out. It came out in the first year. And I know everybody was nervous about that, but that's phenomenal. I suppose the teachers leadership understand.
When you're going to see from Shannon's report in a minute, we've made a lot of strong progress in Duncanville. And so, yes, is there room to grow? Yes. But in that 2 years, it's only the 3rd year for that campus. We made a lot of progress.
Yeah, the other thing I've noticed too is, remember a long time ago, we used to do retention rates. I mean, we did it every month. Remember, we could get to nauseum. And so the average rotation out of a school is at least 25% on average, okay, because people move and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at the Dallas campus at 93%, that's pretty phenomenal. So that means they're staying in grade levels going up, which you can imagine, as far as continuity goes, that's great. But the second thing is if you go to Duncanville and they're at 75% in that particular community, that's phenomenal.
Let's go back to the Dallas retention rate. That's you got your form right here, your little scale. So the way that reads is that if you just take first grade, for example, we had 44 kindergartners. That number where it says 17, 18 is the number of kindergartners we had, not first graders. And then we kept 39 of those 44 that went on to first grade. So you can see each one. So when you get to the second grade line, that's 35 first graders that we kept 33 of those that went on to second grade. So we have a super great retention rate. And like Mike said, it's a 93% for this Dallas campus.
Well, and the other thing too, if you go way back, remember we were trying to figure out, okay, if they start in kindergarten, they'll go through 5 grades, so that shows you got the retention rate, so we worked on that. The second one, the jump is when they go into junior high school, that's where you're gonna lose them. Everybody's kind of aware of that, but you take a look, ours didn't, okay? And then the next jump is when they jump into the 9th grade, actually the 9th grade, and you can see the retention rate there. So again, those were all issues of concern way back in the first year, and so they were all addressed, and it's working.
So Charlene, you have a
So you
question?
see-
I was just going to ask about 12th grade.
12th grade, right. So
Because normally seniors,
They don't.
move.
yeah, we had at least 3 of these that actually moved. One went back to the mission field, and a couple others actually made a move. And so we were sad to lose those kids. But they didn't leave to go to another school in this area, because you're right, that's not a norm, not to lose the, yeah. So, yeah, I want you to look at the Duncanville, because this graph is set up a little bit differently, because we wanted to take into account actually what's going on over there. Some of those students do request a transfer to the Dallas campus, and I'm going to tell you why that is. Because this campus is established, it's been here, it has a name. Duncanville is working on that. They're building a name for themselves. So I don't think that is going to be a forever issue, but right now we do get transfer requests. So you can see that we calculated the retention rate. The first calculation is the retention rate of counting in the students who transfer. That second retention rate number is using the students who transfer here, still counting them as UME students. And so the retention rate is higher if you look at it that way. So you've got, like, take first grade, for example, it's I get my glasses on. Yeah, 68% retention rate. But if we look at the transfers in there, that bumps that to a 77% retention rate for that grade.
The vast majority of those transfer requests are students who have siblings that promoted from 1 grade level to 7th grade, from 6th grade to 7th grade. The vast majority of those are, there are some that just want to be over here.
And we did take into account, there are 6th graders who moved over here. We certainly didn't count that against Duncanville, because they stayed with UME. There's no 7th grade in Duncanville. So that was to their credit that they stayed and came here for 7th grade.
The other thing to think about is if you didn't have a Duncanville, you'd have openings. So it's working exactly like y'all originally put that through. Those that didn't transfer over might be vacancies, which should drop those rates. So it's working like we set it up.
It's a new campus, the first, and these rates will go up. I'm confident of that. So right now, if you take the retention rate with the Dallas transfers, they're at a 75% overall.
Let me ask you a question. and I'm patting you on the back, we'll come around to that, but of the kindergarten areas, we have, how many kindergarten areas do we have?
We have 3 classes here and 2 on
Two
the
there.
other.
And is the kindergarten over there all 5 day? Okay. And then over here, the only one that's not full is what?
We have a 2-day class, we only have 7 students in it.
So,
But our 3-day class is not full.
so if we had made that transition, remember how traumatic that was? That we had to have those 2-day classes? Well, then we transitioned to 3-day, just from the standpoint as parents need a choice. But if you look back, 5 days are a little longer more successful than the others aren't. They're not, I mean, 7 students in the whole class. So I have to pat you on the back, you made a great choice that time. Controversial.
For the new
but-
board members, as I remember it, that transition was controversial.
Yes. Yes.
And for the new board members, just remember, as a board member, your friends come and go and your enemies accumulate. You have to be careful about this, but that's right, that was very controversial, but has really paid off.
Yeah.
It
Well,
has.
and it goes back to, too, is, I mean, we did it from the very beginning, is that it's a choice, and we let it settle out. Well, it settled out, and they find the choice, and having 5 days.
And as we go into this new enrollment season, we will be doing 5-day kindergartens on this campus. Because that is really what parents want, that's what they need. So, we'll do that. Okay, any questions on these retention numbers, graphs, comments?
It's good.
It's good
What
information.
was the one that we ranked 14th in the state in?
It's called closing gaps. So it's closing educational gaps in our different subgroup populations.
Well, we also ranked, what, 14th of the 5-star schools? What was that about?
Yes, it was higher than that.
14th
I don't
for
have that.
charter schools and 46 for all schools.
I think it's about right.
Unfortunately, our reports keep getting better and we now sort of take them for granted, so we need to be careful not to take them for granted.
Okay, Mr. Grace,
Absolutely.
tell us something good.
So there is a CAC report page, if y'all want to turn to that. And I just wanted to say, you know, to begin, I've had a chance over the last couple of months to interact with our parents on both campuses, not just Dallas, but also Duncanville. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we have great parents. And, you know, I think the commonalities that I've seen is, number one, they want to be involved in their students' lives. I mean, that's something that I've seen. It's wonderful to see, you know, both parents attending events. They also really say very high things about our school, and they want our school to succeed. So it's wonderful to get that feedback, and again, I've seen that from both campuses. So a couple of things I wanted to mention, some past events. Number one, and I'm sorry, I might be stealing thunder here, and I apologize. Am I stealing thunder?
It's okay.
You want me to
We
keep it
planned
quiet?
it. We read your report ahead of time.
You did, okay. Well,
Just keep it clear of that.
so the goal for North Texas Giving Day for our both campuses was $10,000, which, by the way, is a very high goal. We ended up achieving $16,230 for North Texas Giving Day. So that is wonderful. It was a joint effort by both schools, so congratulations to everyone. And that money goes to some great causes, so fantastic.
All back to the students.
All back to the students. So we also had a great time at the Air Hogs. The PAC team did wonderful there. It was a great fundraiser. Spirit Night, we have great Spirit Nights. The last one that we did was at Spring Creek Barbecue. 27% of the student population came to that. Think about that. A quarter of the school and the family came to that. And we had 16 teachers that volunteered for that too, by the way, that were serving hot rolls. So exciting. The carnival on last Friday was incredible. The weather was bad, but the attendance was wonderful. And it was a group effort from both campuses. I had a chance to interact with parents from both campuses. We had over 30 booths in this carnival. So you go inside, Lacey and her team did a phenomenal job. They planned ahead, they made it inside, thankfully, and it was wonderfully attended. And by the way, they ended up raising through this event, or making through this event, over $4,500. And I'll just say that some of that money is going to be going to different departments, right, Lacey? You know, like the cheerleader department and, you know, the National Honor Society, that type of thing. But it was amazingly attended. So I'm sure those many more to come. We already mentioned the homecoming game, very good turnout. A couple things else I mentioned. Upcoming events, we do have another Spirit Day coming up on November the 6th, which is going to be Chick-fil-A. Everybody loves Chick-fil-A. And so a lot of those proceeds are going to go to us. A percentage of those will go to us. And then I'll just kind of skip down. We'll talk about some of those other events another day. But at the Duncanville campus, you know, I've actually had a chance to meet Katie Edwards and Amy Reese. And so we've scheduled a time for me to go out on November the 1st and actually meet with their PAC team. So very excited to do that and get their feedback and learn out how I can help. And we've also been, we've created these communication videos. So we have separate videos that I've been able to create now to be able to speak to the parents. And they're now being posted on our website, on both campuses, and also on the Facebook. So these are short videos that give parents the opportunity to learn what's going on in the school, what we're talking about in the board meetings, and it's just another way to, you know, bridge that communication. So a lot of great things that are going on, and we're excited.
That is awesome. Very good. Great report, Drew. Good job. All right. Okay. That brings us to the principal's list. We've all been to the principal's office before, so now we get to hear from everybody. Maybe we haven't all been to the principal's office. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. Come on, Jen.
Going to strategically stand somewhere away.
They learned from the last time.
Yes, we did. We got reports back on the way we looked in the camera. Okay, Drew he did not steal my thunder totally, because James and I had already talked about we were going to work around that because we knew the types of things you were going to talk about. But I would like to just piggyback on that and say the carnival was amazing. Lacey and her team did a fantastic job.
Fantastic.
Everybody pitched in. It was so much fun. It was really fun. One of the exciting things that happened because of North Texas Giving Day was we had a winner on each campus of the student that earned the most money for the day, and they got to be principal for a day. And so this past week, I had mine. Shannon is going to speak a little bit about hers too, but I just thought you would enjoy hearing a little bit about that day for her. One of the first, she had a little schedule, actually it was in color, but I met her at the door that morning and she was just beside me all day long. And one of the first things we did, I hope this is okay to talk about this, I forgot to ask Kayla and Mike, look, Kayla's going to already know what she was saying. But we went around to teachers, oh, sorry. See, that's why you can't do this kind of stuff with people like me. We went to teachers and delivered retention checks last year at our budget meeting. Can I talk about that? Okay. Last year at our budget meeting, under Mike's leadership, all of us discussed the fact that we would like to reward the teachers for returning the next year and kind of give them incentive. And so we announced last year that if they returned again this year, they would get a 1% bonus in retention check. And so it had to be, we had to wait till I think September 15th was the day that they had to be working. And so we got those checks printed by our HR department, our accounting department, and Mr. Tweedy and Kayla and myself went around to all the teachers and delivered the checks. It was so much fun. We had such a great time. And then Kayla went over to Shannon's campus and did the same thing. But we had the little principal for the day. She went with us, and she didn't quite know what to think about it, but she was loving it too. We gave the teachers crunch bars, chocolate crunch bars, and we told them in case they got in a crunch this month. And then Kayla handed them a check and said, here's a little something that will help you out. So it was fun. It was a fun day, and the teachers were so appreciative. I don't know if they've had a chance to say that out loud, but when we gave them checks, they were very appreciative, especially Mr. Spencer. He woo-hooed and said he was going to go shopping.
He got the prize.
Yeah, he got the prize for the most enthusiasm. Anyway, she also went and did some walkthroughs on some teachers with me. She used my computer, and I told her that they had to be positive. And I asked her at the end, tell me what you saw that this teacher was doing well in her class. And she said, well, she helped the students, but she didn't help them too much. And I thought that was very wise of her, because she realized that the teacher was helping them, but she wasn't giving them the answers. So she did a walkthrough. She had two parent conferences, one with Ginger, and Ginger came in with a valid concern about her son having some issues with math, and the little girl that was my mentor, not my mentor, my mentee, she gave advice to Ginger and to Miss Ignatz also. She had two parent conferences, and she told them what her mother did for her in cases like that. So it was very precious. And she got to read to some kids, and she got to attend a pep rally as a sixth grader, which was, she was coveted by all her friends, and we were walking down the hall at one point, and her friends came around her and they were like, Katia, you're the principal, you can let us come to the pep rally too. And I'm standing there, and Katia looks at me and I said, come here, we have to have a conference. And so I said, we can't, because it wouldn't be fair to the other kids. So she wasn't real popular with them at that moment. But anyway, we had a great time. So that was just a little side note of North Texas Giving Day, some of the wonderful things that came out of that. And as Kayla said, we are going to look at our STAR report for our 3rd through 6th grade on the Dallas campus. And Shannon has a little handout for you. It's not really little, but it's not as much as it appears to be. It's kind of big, but there's just a little information on each page. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, because I know that we've talked a lot about STAR, and I don't want y'all to ever get the impression that STAR is the most important thing on our campus, because it is so. Background of 36 years in public school, and we did do a lot of testing, and I loved every minute of my teaching career, every minute of it. But we tested a little bit more than what I would have thought was appropriate. So we're not all about testing, but we do want to celebrate our testing when our teachers are not teaching to a test. They're teaching to teach, which is what our curriculum is. That's what our standards are. They're just making sure the kids learn that, and then they do well on the test. Go figure. You know, it just works out that way. Anyway, if you will look with me before we go over this quickly, the top column, the top bar graph actually is our state's averages for the whole state of Texas. Below that is UME Dallas, our Dallas campus. Shannon will have one for Duncanville. So as you can see on this bar graph, we're going to compare numbers, but I want you to look down at the key, the little top color, which I don't know why they didn't just use red, green, yellow, and blue, because that's a lot easier to talk about. But the top color, I'm going to call that kind of like a taupe, maybe, or a pea green, maybe. Olive's good. Okay, the olive color is the children that did not meet the standards. Okay, so they did not pass the test. The yellow column, that is students that met the minimal passing requirement. Oh wait, did I just say yellow? I did. Oh yeah, that's right. It's called approaches. And let me just say this for you guys, because we as educators, when they first changed that name to approaches, it used to be called satisfactory. When they changed it to approaches, we all thought, oh my goodness, those kids didn't pass. Because doesn't approaches sound like you didn't pass? I can't tell you the number of parents that called and said, we need help, our children didn't pass, because they read the reports and got confused, because that does not sound like
TEA the first time we got the report. I was like, this cannot be Right.
Yeah,
So
I got on the phone with
we were on the
TA and
phone
was
with
like,
TA.
please give us the definition, because teachers were talking in the hallway, we were all kind of freaking out. Anyway,
But
so
it is
approaches is passing, but it is like a minimal passing standard. And actually, when I was doing some research on it, it basically also means that if it counts as passing for our SSI grade levels, which is 5th and 8th grade, and that stands for Student Success Initiative. Those are the grade levels that get to take the test 3 times. So if they make the minimum passing standard, that pushes them on to the next grade level for sure, okay? All right, so then on the green, the true green is meets, and that obviously means that they're on grade level, they're passing, and it means that they're probably gonna have success in the next grade level or the next course they take, but they might need some short-term intervention academically. And then masters, that pretty much is what it says it is. They're expected to succeed in the next grade level, and they're probably working above grade level. Okay, that's a column we want to focus on at UME because we did really well on that. Before we look at this and turn the page though, please remember that that top color, the one that's Kayla called olive, that's the only bar that we want to be lower than the state at, because that's the number of kids that didn't pass. So like on this first one, 24 didn't pass on the state level, but in our 3rd grade, only 15 didn't pass. So that's 15%, yes, I'm sorry, percentage. And then on down, you can see that we were above the state on every category on this. And look at the mastery category. 24% mastery for the state and 41% for us. Isn't that awesome? That's almost
I've
double.
got a little bit of a problem. If you add up the column, it doesn't equal 100.
I was afraid somebody was going to mention it, so I figured it out. And trust me, it took me some thinking because I thought the same thing. I thought, wait a minute. But what it is that 85 adds up to the bottom two, okay? 54% and 41%. No, whoa.
Oh, no, okay, you can see it.
Yes, they add to 100. Okay, that adds to 100. But what they've done is they've included the mastery and the meets within the approaches because mastery and meets all hit approaches. Does that make sense?
No, it makes, the numbers make sense, it doesn't make any sense why they would do it.
Its approaches are above.
Right, approaches are above. That's correct. Yeah, I know, it is very confusing. And I had to talk it through with Shannon. We were talking about it in the office before we came
The
in here.
approaches is everybody passed.
Yeah, that's the total of all passing. And so the approaches and the ones that don't pass add up to 100%. Because the yellow bar is basically everybody that passed. And then the olive bar is the ones that didn't pass. So that's where you'll get your 100%.
Is it right to assume that, like on that first page where it says 15% and 39 is about, what, 6? About 16.
15% rounded off to 40. Yeah,
That's
about
six.
5 or 6. Yep.
I'm just getting ready to figure it.
Yep. Okay, if you'll turn to the next page, as we're going on, I would just like to say, I want to just give a little 10-second commercial on our teachers. I think our teachers are to be commended with this report because they have worked hard to make sure that our kids are learning what they need to learn in school. Not what they need to learn for a test, but what they need to learn. Look at these scores. This is our 4th grade reading. I put all the reading together. This is our 4th grade reading. 93% passing. The state had 72%. 49% mastery. The state had 24. So that's over double. And I can speak to you and tell you that the mastery column, it's hard to get. In public schools, that was one that we all struggled to elevate because it's not easy to get that. Okay, the next page is writing. And again, our scores, almost on every page, our scores on every bar are higher than the state. There are a few exceptions, except for, again, we don't want the olive bar to be higher, but you can see that passing, we had 78, that's compared to 61. 63 that met expectations, which is, a good solid passing score, and the state had 38. to our 70, 38, no, 61 to our 78, sorry. And then the next column was the meets, and we almost doubled that. And then in our mastery again, we doubled. Mastery just looks good on almost all of them. We have a strong writing teacher in 4th grade. She starts tutoring the kids early on for the writing test because they take the writing test early. So she does a fantastic job.
Hey, Jody, is there a possibility to know, for instance, like if you had 6 that didn't pass, how long those kids have been in the school? So I mean, are these first-year students to UME Prep?
Yeah.
Is there a way to do that?
There is a way to do that, and that would be good data.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I'm going to talk about is data. A new thing that we're doing here that's amazing. So I'll talk about a little bit about that in a second. Again, the next page, it looks different from the rest because I had to reprint it because I had problems with my printer and I couldn't get the same format to come out. But this is 5th grade reading. Again, higher in every column. I don't want to bore y'all with every single detail. And then the next page after that is 6th grade reading. And I would like to point out that the state, the total passing was 66% and ours was 90%. Awesome.
Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, Kayla, but wasn't one of our weak points last year reading? I thought reading was the lower one of the math.
Don't think so. Our math scores are, it was a little lower in like 5th grade.
Yeah.
Because our math scores are super high in 5th grade.
Yeah.
Reading was lower.
Because I remember that was one of Dr. Estes' concerns was the reading score.
Yeah.
So it has
Typically,
come up.
almost without exception, the kids score higher in reading than math. Usually that's the,
Right.
but that was not the case. But I think it's because we have an exceptionally strong math teacher that really pushed her kids and they just did super well. I don't think it was that we did poor in reading, but this shows you that our reading is really, really good. And it is improving, yep.
That's good.
Yep. Okay, and then the next page, we're switching over to math. And again, we're just pointing out 2 columns. Look at the yellow bar, 77% passing for the state, 90% passing for UME. Oh, is that? Oh, I'm sorry. You're
No,
right.
you just didn't say.
Oh, okay. We started over again in 3rd grade.
Mhm.
Yeah. Again, a very strong 3rd grade math teacher. Look at that. Look at our mastery, 36%. That's amazing. Next page is 4th grade math. Again, 90% for our campus on passing rate, and 78 for the state. Our mastery wasn't quite as substantial in that grade level, so that might be something we look at. And then the next page, almost to the end of this one was, oh, you know what? Oh, well, we'll talk about it. Okay. I want to point out something. This shows that the 5th grade total passing was 90%, but after the June administration, this was 100%. This was the grade level that we bragged on that made they had 100% passing. But this report that I pulled, I wanted them all to be the same, and some of the grade levels didn't take that extra test, but that test showed that those, there were no, by the 3rd test, there were no more 5th graders that had to take it, because by the 2nd test, they had all passed, so there was 100% on our campus. It's crazy. But I'm gonna be honest here and real. Look at the mastery of our 5th graders. We only had 14% mastery, which is something to contemplate. We had 100% passing, the best passing rate of any grade level. And so I made a note, that's something we need to work on. And I think that teacher, she's so competitive, she will work on that. You know, she'll realize that's an area that needs improvement. So, amazing.
But stop and think, math I mean, it's right or it's wrong, and it's to me, math to make that, it's just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've never heard of that.
Well, and I know the teacher's working herself to death, making sure everybody knows what they're supposed to know, and so that's her main focus, you know. Sometimes to get that mastery, you gotta push them up a little bit.
That makes total sense, yes, you're right.
But,
Yeah.
but I think that's a goal that we can reach, just to
A
improve
teacher
on that.
probably can do that.
I think so too. And then we have 2 more. This next one is a science. And the reason the other ones don't have science is because they don't take science. But fifth grade does take science, and our scores are not quite as high in science. So this is an area, Shannon and I have already discussed this because it's interesting. It's the same on her campus. Her science scores weren't as strong as the math and reading. So we're thinking that might be an area of emphasis for both campuses, that we work a little bit on that.
Can I ask you a question? Didn't you turn over a science teacher?
This year,
Science for elementary.
no, not.
Ever since the junior
It's,
high.
yeah, we got a returning one for this year, but she does a great job. We're gonna just keep working and figure out what we need to do better on that. And then, sixth grade math is our last one. 95% pass. Yep.
34%.
Right, and 34, okay, look, yeah, oh, yeah, I was so happy to end with this
That's
one.
the fifth grade.
Yeah.
Fifth and sixth grade.
Same teacher, she happens to be my best friend, I'm just saying. I've known her for a lot. She and I taught at Arlington together, and she, actually, Mr. Spurlock called and said, hey, I need, this before I worked here, hey, I need a good math teacher, do you know anybody? And I was like, yeah, I do, and she just retired. And so we nabbed her, and she's teaching our fifth and sixth grade math, and she does a fantastic job. But look at that, y'all. The state is 76, we're 95 on everybody passing. And then, look at our mastery again, over double. They were 17% and we were 34%. That's totally incredible. So anyway, that's our, totally incredible. That's our nutshell of the STAR. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about with you for 1 second, I just wanted to tell you about a computer program that we are implementing. Shannon, they had it at their campus last year and we're kind of playing with it, trying to get it up and going. And this year we have hit the floor running with it. We had an in-service on Eduporia, is what it's called. Some of you may have heard of it or you might be familiar with it. And it is a program that actually takes data from tests and this is one of the things it does. It can do all kinds of things. This is my little narrow aspect of it. But it takes data and it disaggregates it for you by your test. And let me explain what that means, because it's a teensy bit confusing. A teacher, so this is what we challenged our teachers to do this year. We said we want to come up with a couple of benchmarks, which really kind of just replaced their midterm tests. So we weren't adding tests to them. We're saying, let's just call it a benchmark. Let's do it about 8 or 9 weeks into the year when you've had a chance to teach your teams. And let's test the kids over what you just taught them. And let's see where we're going. And then that way we can measure it. And we wanted to use Eduporia because you can take, there's 2 ways you can use it. You can, Eduporia actually has questions on their site that you can go and pull the questions for, and it automatically corresponds with the T. So like you say, oh, I like this question, I want to put this on my midterm, and it's all by grade level. Like a 6th grade teacher would go in and say, okay, yes, I want to teach this about fractions, it connects with this T. And then you just pick it, you make your test. Once you make that test and all the ticks are corresponding to it, then you get your answer documents. It's in the system. Your kids fill out a Scantron answer document for the test, and we have a scanner now, and you scan that test, and it automatically inputs all the information into the system where you can pull all kinds of reports. All kinds of reports. I cannot think of the, because I'm pressured right now, I can't think of it. We had a system in Arlington that was just a different name, but it was exactly the same. So you go down to a drop-down screen, and if you'll turn to this first page, the next to the last page, I have 2 just about Eduporia. I just wanted to show you, and I think I tried to highlight everybody's on here. This is one report that the math teacher that teaches 5th grade, I had her come to my class and sign in as herself, so I could get some data from her kids. But these, do you see over to the left, is everybody on this page right here? Over to the left, you see where it has the total number of students that we're testing is 41. The learning standard number, or the TEEPS, there it is, like shortened, it would be like 5.28 or whatever. And then the percentage that got that particular question or questions correct. So Ms. Mulkey can look at this. It gives her great knowledge because over to the right, it has the teak that it's talking about. And the learning standard number total, like how many questions on her midterm were on each one of those teaks. 1, 3, 1, some of them had 2. But you can see the numbers are highlighted. Those are the 2 that she got the lowest scores on. 68 on the first highlighted one, and then 64. So she was already talking to me, and she said, well, now I know that those are 2 things I'm going to reteach and carry over into the next section. The rest of them, she'll touch and she'll round about them again, but she knows that her kids are doing pretty well. She can look at that 97% that she has and think, okay, they pretty much got that. So it really helps streamline their instruction, and it guides them on what they need to teach and reteach and what they need to tutor in. So that is one report, and then I'm going to show you the last one. Yeah, and y'all, I'm telling you, there were like, we could have picked like 8 different reports, but here's the last one I'm going to show you. This is by individual students. I marked out their names so that for confidentiality. But like that first student, you can go across and you can look at every one of the standards, and you can see what that child did. So if I had somebody tutoring after school, I could take this report and give it to them, and they would look and know immediately what that student is weak on. Like that first student, it's 5.3, and then you'd have to know what your standards are. You'd have to look them up, which is the same as the T's. But anyway, that's just 2 reports, and I know I'm kind of, my personality doesn't go with this, but I love data. I love to look at it and just see what it's telling us about our kids, and it's really useful stuff. So this Eduforia thing, it's great. I think James and Shannon would agree that we're just getting started with it, but our teachers are getting on board and they see the importance of it and how valuable it's going to be to us, and it's going to really benefit our kids.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I'm going down that list and I see a little girl that's 35%, and it shows zeros in those categories. So what kind of intervention would you think you do on that?
Well, definitely. First of all, we have our RTI in place, response to intervention, and so the teachers would know. That's another thing. See, they can look at these reports.
Does everybody know about RTI?
Just
spoke a
response
little
to,
bit about it,
it's just,
right?
yeah, I did last time. It's just response to intervention. It just means we have a new RTI coordinator. Actually, she's called an at-risk coordinator. Her name is Jan Tyler, and she will be helping the teachers to identify them and keep records on them. And the teachers could look at a report like this, and let's pretend that girl's name is Vicki Ray, and Vicki is having problems, obviously, and so the teachers are going to write down her name. They're going to go speak with Jan. They're actually meeting right now. James is going to talk some more about RTI, I think, for the upper grade levels. But this week, Jan has been here for several days, and she's meeting with the teachers, and they're discussing these students. And this report would help teachers know who to put on their
When
list.
they're discussing specific interventions.
Yeah,
And
like tutoring.
then there'll be mandatory tutoring for this is identifying kids for mandatory tutoring. So.
Yeah. It starts in the intervention starts in the classroom with the teachers having small groups and working with them one-on-one. And then they also do the mandatory tutoring where we require them to come to tutoring. And we have all kinds of interventions in place. And this kind of thing will it's gonna, and the beauty of it is once the information's in there, it's there. And we can track it. Like from 3rd grade to 4th grade, it's going to stay with them. All that information goes, and we'll be able to track their growth and see how they're making progress, because really that's what it's all about, making progress. It's not about the hope. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a question?
Yeah, are the larger ISDs doing anything with this?
Yes. I wish, why can I not think of that program? James, what's the program that we used? And I think I've told you about it. Oh, well,
There are lots of programs that can use this kind of data analysis.
Polaris. Thank you. We had one called Polaris in Arlington. It was almost identical to this. We have a technologist, an instructional technologist here, Stephanie Holland, and she knows both because she came from Arlington too. And I said, Stephanie, how close is this to Polaris? And she said, it's almost identical. It's just It's just a different way to gather data and disaggregate it. So,
Now, just tell you where you come from. Where we came from was if a kid was not doing well in school, we'd go back and find out, you know, how many times they didn't do their homework. We did that all computation by hand. Actually, I did that. Now you're 21st century as far as collecting the data. And the other thing too is you're defined early enough that you can make a difference in the outcome. But we didn't start there. It was very,
no,
very
I
hard.
think that's a very good point too. It just shows the progress
Yeah.
that's being made here.
Yeah.
No, this is excellent.
That's something.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
Johnny, thank you, that's good.
You're very
Good-
welcome.
Good report.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mark,
Thank you.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
One question, one thing I would say is, in talking to teachers, they love those bonuses, they think that's fun, you know, and they don't get in public schools and all that. But what they really like is recognition. Would it be possible maybe to have the board send a letter of recognition to these teachers that y'all feel are appropriate? I mean, like, you know, this one teacher, she's already just phenomenal, but there's a bunch of teachers now that are phenomenal. And write something from the chairman of the board and the superintendent of recognition for this. Because the other thing too is they'll put it in their folder for their future. You know, that's something to brag about to people.
Yeah,
So could we
it is.
get a letter of recognition for that?
Absolutely.
Well, and it's funny that you would say that because we were just talking about this, I think today or yesterday. That bonus check, it's not, honestly, it's not the money that mattered to those teachers. I mean, sure, did they love getting money? Absolutely. Who doesn't? But it's feeling valued and like we appreciate what they're doing. And I think that's what keeps them coming back.
Sure.
They're not going to come back to get to, well, I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know. I didn't see any of the checks, but let's pretend it was $50 that was going back. But they're not going to come back for a $50 check. But they're going to come back to a place that they feel like people appreciate them and love them and respect what they're doing.
You're a really good teacher. I talked to her and her dog went into the veterinarian. That was the exact amount it took to get it out of it.
Yeah,
So
she was
they're not
happy to
getting
have
rich
it.
on it, but it was really fun.
Yeah, but it's always good. Yeah. Okay, thank you guys.
Awesome.
Kayla, is there some way we could sort of summarize this and put it on our marquee on a quarterly?
Well, we don't have a marquee yet, but when we
We
get
don't
one.
have a marquee yet?
We don't. Mr. Spurling's working on that.
Well, I can talk about your marketing, but it's not there yet.
But yes,
James,
we
come on.
could easily put like our Turner first rating, our grade, TEA grade rating on a marquee.
Yes. And then if we could translate this into English and send it out to parents?
Sure.
Right.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Is it on the website, like as far as
Yes.
our grading that we got?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. When you get to orientation, it's in mine.
Okay.
Mrs. Prince will tell you about it.
All right, Mr. Tweedy, you have the floor.
Greetings from.
One observation, because this is for my social work. When you look at these scores, you got 21 students. 11 students are white, 2 are minority. Out of your top 10 scores, 80% are white. So you've got a disproportionate number of non-white students that are scored low in these tests. I'm just going to throw that out there as an observation. This may have something to do with the lack of English between folks or whatever, but it is a glaring example of disproportionate scoring that's going on. White students are scoring all right.
Hey, look, the thing is, the problem is you're creating a culture in this school of excellence, okay? And in Shannon's school, but it's brand new, it's flagging that she's teaching a culture of excellence. And so you gotta realize that some of those kids that have been here, that's why I asked how long have they been here versus if they're brand new coming from Duncanville, where the scores are obviously lower. So how does that all play? It's a multi-dimensional.
I think the interesting part is going to be when you start tracking them long term.
Right. Yeah.
That's going to be the whole key to everything. Once they're in the system, how long have they been in the system, and what kind of progress are they making?
And Andy, you are right. That is an issue across our nation, and that's part of the reason that you're that category I was talking about, closing gaps, that's part of what we're talking about, is that we scored really well, but we still have a ways to go as to all of the schools that have those subgroups. They're all part of our school, but they're not all, scoring at the same
But
rate.
our state is recognizing that closing the gap is almost as important as passing or the met. It's very important to close that gap. And
We're
because
working on it.
of that right there, ESL and all kinds of issues.
Just remember, 87 to 89, that's closing the gap. But whatever the state looks at is that lower part, how fast kids moving up the category. And you get dinged if they don't.
But rightfully so.
Huh?
But rightfully so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is think about, now I have to brag on the charter in that you're one of the very few that's closing the gap. I mean, if you take a look at the results, it's not what you're seeing in the state, it's not what you're seeing in Dallas Fort Worth. It's totally different. So the process is working. Y'all believed in it, you stayed with it, but it's showing results. Because the same thing, it's the same problem in the States. I mean, you've got the Valley, you've got all these other places. They are not closing that gap as fast as we're closing. So I would just say, go back to it's okay, it's teaching methods, it's discipline, it's not one thing, it's a whole culture. Yeah. Let me just give you one example. I really kind of hate to say this on air, but one of the students that to me was at risk the most is now getting, and we can all kind of roll our eyes, who it is, but they is excelling unbelievable. I can't tell you how much it's excelling. And so I will tell you this, they're making phenomenal differences in that lower level that's closing the gap to the top level. And then again, look at your good group that's going to college. It's just phenomenal. So these people have done a fabulous job of getting that done. Because I remember those questions you'd ask me, I really don't know the answer to that, Ms. Graham. But now they do have to make these things in place and follow.
But we have work to do.
But now, and so just so you'll know, since this is new, most of the, I won't say most, but a lot of the charter schools are now targeting engineering so they can make decisions about admitting you to there, you have this inclination towards engineering. Do you have one in Arlington is the fine arts? But you can't go there. What this school did from the very beginning said, we want to be a school for all people to come to this school. We haven't tried to define a camp, although we can do robotics as well. You said, hey, we want to teach all the students in the state of Texas, regardless of the course. Management is phenomenal. I mean, I bet you I could take all engineering students and I would hope that they would do better. But we're not doing that. We're saying all of the students. Send us your masses. Does that make sense, Andy? Yeah. So we do a little bit different. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Greetings. So, one of the reasons why I got to this point is because of some of the things that you have been talking about. When I first came to school, I had an opportunity to kind of see some of our scores and see where people were struggling, and I jumped in, and started to think about ways that we could start to, kind of close these gaps. And I can tell you right now, I have seen a phenomenal amount of growth in not only our teachers, but our families, our kids, in understanding the culture of not only excellence, but rigor and improvement. So we got some ways to go. But one of the things that I really like about UME Preparatory Academy, and I'll say it over and over again, is that we are a diverse school. We aren't a single or a double culture school. We have everybody here. And doing well requires a lot of commitment. And it requires a lot of training by our teachers. And so one of the things that I am really happy about is that our teachers are more and more every day saying, especially from what I see from 7th through 12th, is, hey, look, I know I have all of these kids in front of me, and I have to find a way to meet them where they are. And so we are doing better and better, and I hope to be able to show you some of that when we get to the STAR scores in a second. But some really great things. I want to piggyback on some of the the things that were said about Carnival. And basically, yes, it was an elementary effort, I would say. But when Lacey came to me and she said, well, what can NHS do? And she said something about, helping out with the food. And I said, yeah, we can do that. I had no idea why. I just wanted, NHS to have this big role in it, because when I first started, NHS was NHS, and people came. Well, actually, we didn't even have meetings. We just had people inducted into NHS, and it just kind of did. But over the years, we've grown and grown and grown, and I wanted to be a part of the carnival by being able to do all of the food for it. So at the time, I said, yes, that's great. I didn't realize how much that was. But here's the thing. But the good thing about it was this. I put it to NHS, the kids, and they rose to the occasion. I mean, they worked hard. I had all of these volunteers, families. Look, it wasn't even a lot of the parents, but all of the kids came out. And our senior, the NHS president, she jumped right in there, and she's just herding people around and doing all. We had so many NHS volunteers. I had to farm them out to other tables and other booths to help out. So I am so happy about our growth with our National Honor Society and how they really have stepped up and want to give and want to be a part of the process of making the culture of UME. And when the little kids start to see, these older kids coming back and doing things and working with them, it really shows them where they can go. So I'm really happy about that and being a part of that, and thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
And it's the one thing, look, I'm a principal now, but I still hold on to NHS because I just love doing that. I really do. So I'll be sad to have to give it up next year, but I have to give it up to do other things. Again, homecoming happened on the 20th. We truly won that game.
By a large amount.
Yes, by a large amount. And we also had the obligatory homecoming events, like we crowned the king and queen, and we had the homecoming court come out. And one of the wonderful things about it was, we were like really contemplating the fact that it was going to be nasty and muddy and all of that, but the sun came out at the right time, and it wasn't muddy enough that it kind of destroyed everything. So it was a really great opportunity and a lot of fun. And then that night, after doing all of that, this is just one weekend, carnival, game, and then the dance happened that night. And so we were really busy, and that was phenomenal. I know I keep saying the word phenomenal, but I'm telling you, we had it in the auditorium for the first year, and it was all decorated. The sound system was great, and the kids had a lot of fun dancing. I mean, it's always good to see kids, having good, honest fun. And it was really a great opportunity. I mean, they really enjoyed themselves from beginning to end. They had good food. I kept sneaking in there and getting, so it was really a great opportunity. So these are things that also kind of create this culture of, hey, look, we're together. We're a family. We're, going to come together and do this thing right. So I really want to thank, Leah Jeffries and Celeste Sarpolis and Jamie Watts and Miss Stephanie Gerald for actually kind of coming together with all of those 4 classes and making it special. And not only that, but we also try to include our middle schoolers. So we have our kind of what we call HOCO, or homecoming party, and that was at First Baptist Grand Prairie. And so all of our 7th and 8th graders went over there, and they had fun too. So they are a part of that homecoming culture as well. So we don't want to leave them out, because that middle school, they can be a little squirrely at best, And so it was really great to have them have an opportunity to go over there, and they had a really good time.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah. So it was really great. And then also at the homecoming dance, we only had like maybe 60 or something last year, but over 100 this year. So it was really, really, really great. So, I mean, we're really.
They were all on the dance floor.
They
I've
were.
really never seen that happen.
Yes. It was, and they were
all
taking. It was really good. So, another thing that happened on October 10th, which this is a day I really love, is that the whole high school is involved in preparation for college. So we have kids who are taking career inventories. Those are our 9th graders. Our 10th and 11th graders are taking the PSAT. And our 12th graders, they get to go, and we started this tradition 3 years ago, where they go on a college tour. And this year they actually had a little lunch at Alley Cats in Arlington and have some fun to go along with that. So that's the day where we really kind of promote, this idea of college is the next step for those people who are really truly interested in college, and they get that exposure in 4 different ways, or in 3 different ways, because the 10th and 11th grade are taking the PSAT. So that went off without a hitch. A lot of great things happened on that day. We also started back up, much to the work of our illustrious CEO, the Leadership Council. And that was a really great opportunity to see these kids who want to sit under the tutelage of Mr. Spurlock and learn about what it takes to be a leader. So they came, and we have, one of the great things about us, we have a lot of young ladies who want to learn about being a leader. And we truly want to promote that, and they really come out and they're serious about understanding what is my role, not only as a leader beyond, but what is my role as a leader here in the school. So it's really great to come out. We had a young man who came back, who was a graduate, who was able to speak about his experiences right after high school, so it was a really great opportunity as well. And also, this is going to piggyback into our discussion about the STAR, is that we, at the last faculty meeting, had a really great opportunity for our faculty members to talk about kids. Now you might think, hey, well that happens all the time, right? But when we're in a school like this, where there are people here at different times, it was really great to have them get into groups and say, hey, what does this child need? What does this child need? What are some things that you're seeing? What are some things that we can do to challenge them? And so we all were getting in these meetings because we are making this transition to really, like we were saying about RTI, getting teachers to think about, what can I do to intervene for my students? So the teachers, they did a great job of coming together in a collaborative group, especially in our high school and our middle school levels, because they're so fragmented, you know, with the different classes and going, and they all came. It was great to see this buzz of interest in our kids, because if you don't spend time looking at each and every child individually, then you're going to lose some and they'll slip through the cracks. And it can be done. It can be done. And by making that a priority in our faculty meetings, it works. So I'm really happy about that. So one of the things that I want to do is to draw your attention to, the other thing is I used to be the college and career coordinator, and so I sent out a survey. And I asked them questions about what they were going to do after school, because we have a new college and career coordinator, Ms. Wendy Smith, who's going to kind of take over. And so what she's going to do is kind of look at some of the things that they came up with. But I mean, we've got kids who are planning to go to overwhelmingly, our kids are planning to go to 4-year universities. Some of them applying to DBU, University of Texas, Austin, Texas A&M. Some of them are actually going to 2-year schools and starting off at TCC, LSU, and Abilene Christian University. So we've got some great schools that kids are interested in attending. So that was really great to see. Also, that we have some kids, it was all really great to see that we also have some kids who are career minded. So they're thinking about the automotive trades, they're thinking about IT. And we also have some that are going into the ministry, they are going to go into the mission field. And we also have some that are going to go into the Marines and the Air Force. So we are very diverse in the pathways that kids take. And that's a really good thing, because that means that we are allowing kids to really think about what it is that makes their pathway for them. So it was really great to have that. Now, Shannon's going to pass out the secondary level STAR reports. And I'm hoping that as we look at this really quickly, I'm not going to go through each page or anything like that, but just like 4 or 5 pages I want you to take a look at. The reason is because I do want to talk about our culture with regard to academic growth. So, one of the things that I see is that, and one of the things that I really want to promote is this idea that we can have rigor for all, but also be mindful of the fact that kids are growing. And we want to have people who are analytical, these people who are drawing conclusions, making inferences about the world based on their understanding, and not just give them dates and things to memorize, but to actually get them to think. And that's what the STAR actually is asking us to do as well in these EOCs. So if you take a look at the first page, you'll see here we're pretty much in line with the state. This is 7th grade. you know, we have some new kids coming in, and so we are, you know, right around kind of where the state is in this particular instance. We would like to grow with the 7th graders, and I think that you will see how, though, we try to make that happen as kids move through the system. Now, go to page, keep on going over to page 5. It's 5 pages in, and you'll see it says STAR, grade 8, spring 2018, and it says this is math for 8th grade. So I know that you had a great explanation from Joni about how these colors work and how, but basically when I look at it, I like, okay, the first one's got to be smaller and all the others need to be longer, you know, so that's kind of basically what I'm thinking about. If you take a look here, look at the bottom there. Look at how we're growing. Look, 22% for the state and 9%. So we are doing much better here. We are 91% at approaches, and look at the breakdown. 72% are meets, and we have 19 at masters. So we're growing. As they're getting more acclimated to our system and getting that rigor, we are seeing that teachers are ramping it up, but also kids are also rising to the occasion.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Does that 8th grade score, does that exclude the kids that took the Algebra 1 test?
It does.
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Reported on the algebra.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
All right, turn over to page 8. This one is, we're moving up into, because listen, you can look through the others, but I wanted to kind of just jump to a couple that are, you know, interesting to me. Page 8, it will say STAR EOC US History. Now take a look at that one. Only 3 people weren't successful. 97% are approaches. Look at this, 44% masters. That's wonderful. History, that means we are doing well at making sure our kids are understanding at least where they live, right? U.S. history. So, you know, so as you can see, we're starting to ramp up that rigor, but we're also starting to see how the culture of the school is also creating success.
Okay, one thing to put note on this, go back ways. The math department blew up my 2nd year. We let nearly everybody go. You know, that was, you can't do that. We did, and look at the results. In history, I remember we had a 35% failure rate, and now you're seeing what's in there. It's just a difference. The teacher was good. Both teachers were good. It's just the philosophy has changed that, you know, we're not just teaching to the top group, we're teaching to the whole class. But I remember that failure rate in history is at 35%.
And I think to Sarah's point in math, starting in 7th grade, I'm saying this right, the students can move up a grade level. In other words, we've got 7th graders in 8th grade math, 8th graders in Algebra 1, 9th grade math. And so when you look at that 7th grade math score, those are what we would consider all of our average kids. Our advanced kids are reported on the 8th grade math. So that's one of the reasons your 7th grade math score doesn't look as strong, because those advanced kids are reported on your 8th grade math, and that's what Sarah was saying, our 8th grade high achieving students are taking Algebra 1, so they're going to be reported on your Algebra 1 EOC. So the math looks a little skewed, but that's the reason why.
And if we turn over to the next page, this one will be our biology EOC. Take a look at that. Look at the state and compare that with us. This is quite interesting. 2, only 2 in biology. That's really great. I mean, this is our science. This is what we are. I mean, this is what's really needed, is an emphasis in the sciences. 2 weren't successful, but look at that, 98%. 33% there are masters. Absolutely wonderful. Turn to the next page. This is that Algebra 1. Look at that. Look at how
they say that's your hardest math is the Algebra 1. Not Algebra 2, but it's Algebra 1.
Yes.
The teachers even say that's
yes.
the hardest one.
Look at the progress.
That is great.
Look at it.
I'll be sure.
52 mathematics.
Absolutely.
So these last pages are your high school students.
Yes.
So
And it goes back to our that ramping up. Look, these kids have a big load, but they are still rising to that challenge, and they are doing well with it. And our teachers are. This is a testament to how our teachers are helping all levels of our kids. And then one last page here. Turn to the next page. This is English 1. And this is important because we have native Spanish-speaking kids. We have a group of kids from Brazil as well who they didn't even know English until they came to this school. And then we're in English 1 here, and look at what we have here. Look at the state average for masters, and look at us, 21 for masters in English 1. And that is a testament to how we not only are meeting the standard, but just blazing a trail with the population that we have, and by doing it with the diversity that we see, not only in this school, but all over. I mean, the climate and all of that. So I can't say enough about how, and of course, we still need to grow, and we still need to improve, and we still need to put more systems in place, but that's the reason why we have a great RTI at-risk person that's come aboard, who's come alongside, and we're creating all kinds of interventions that are going to help kids. We're trying to create ways that kids can not only grow academically, but as a leader, and also with behavior. We have a great culture coordinator. She came on this year, and she gets right in there. She talks to families, and she has a great relationship with all levels of families, whether it's from the elementary all the way up to the 12th grade. So I'm really happy about seeing Savannah coming on this year and really doing a great job of helping out. So we have a commitment that I am happy to be a part of when it comes to creating a culture where we not only want excellence, but we do it all the way through 12th.
Yes, there's no weakness. You don't have one. That's phenomenal. You have a football team, you got 6 guys that are great and 5 that are carrying. There's not a weakness for it in there. That's phenomenal. Because it used to be in the past, we'd have bad English and we have mediocre math and then whatever, but they weren't all at such a high level as every single one of these. So it kind of tells me that you got a culture of excellence across the board. It can always get better, but you don't have a weak spot in that whole group. That means those teachers, it's translating really well to those teachers.
And as I kind of slide away, one last thing is with our athletes. I mean, when I first came here, they were struggling a little bit. The culture of excellence among our football players, there was one time, and it wasn't very popular, where they weren't passing some of the courses, and I said, hey, look, you all got to come off. And so they sat off. And we were I think that was around our first homecoming or whatever. They sat off the whole front line. It was like our best players.
We didn't have that people.
Right? But because we made the commitment to say that academics come first, because we did that, nobody, not one of our players has been ineligible up to this point. And that I'm very proud of. So, great. Good job.
Awesome. Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, tagging on to what everyone has said about Spirit Week Homecoming, it's been a really fun couple of weeks. We had, of course, in the Dallas campus, it's a little out of context. They don't have older kids that they're looking at wearing, giant mums, and they just don't have that sort of excitement around. So we build it from the bottom. And we had dress-up days as well. We had Monday, of course, was a student holiday, but Team Up Tuesday, they wore their favorite sports team paraphernalia. What You Want to Be Wednesday, and they got to dress up as whatever their future career aspirations were. There were lots of doctors. You'd have been very proud. There was one little girl that dressed up as a principal. We had the same hair, so I took a picture with her. It was great. You may have seen it on the Facebook page. Throwback Thursday was dressing your favorite decade. We had people all the way back to the 1860s dressing in those decades. but lots of 70s and 80s. Then Friday was red out, and even Kayla came over on that Friday and was impressed with the amount of red that she saw. One of the things that I did, I came over for the pep rally Friday afternoon, and I brought my iPad and I videoed the pep rally, because on Friday I have what I call Chow with the Chief with my 6th graders and my 5th graders once a month. We just sort of have a mentoring session during their lunchtime. I'm going to show them the video this time around because I want them to know what it's like over here once they hit 7th grade. We're starting even in October trying to foster that commitment, that buy-in to stick with UME. We want them to stay in the UME methodology beyond just what my campus offers to them academically. And so we start that even now. Carnival, we're estimating about 40 of our families from Duncanville attended the carnival Friday night. We don't have hard numbers, but from what the office staff and I can piece together, that's about how many kids we saw from our campus. So I feel like that's a really good participation percentage for an event that didn't happen on our campus. It was so much fun. We were super excited about it. The homecoming game was hosted at the Duncanville campus. It's always a pleasure to have any of our district events there. We were glad to have it. It was a beautiful day, you are correct. As far as academic achievement, we do a short-term recognition called commendation. We feel like waiting 9 weeks is too long for some of our kids to really have an understanding of some context there as well. So my goal, right now we're at every 6 weeks. My goal is to do once a month, but we're not there yet. We call it commendation, and I give 4 awards out. We call them aviators. If you have all A's in your 4 core courses, 23% of our students got that award this time around. I think that's a huge percentage for having all A's in your 4 core courses. We have an all-in award, which is no zeros in the grade book, having all of your assignments turned in. A lot of our families don't give homework assistance at home, and so it is a big deal when the kids do take ownership of their own education and they do their homework independently. We had 39% of our students would get that award. Presence priority, making no tardies and absences a priority on our campus. Kayla's right, we do have a very high attendance rate, particularly as a district. On our campus, it's a little bit lower consistently. Not a lot lower, it's still in the 90% range, probably 95 to 96, whereas they were more like 97 or 98% daily. But having no tardies and absences, 25% of our kids stayed healthy and made being present at school a priority. So we give an award for that. And then flying higher, this time around, what we've done is say whoever has the highest class average in ELA, next time we'll do highest class average in math. And our 5th grade, one of our 5th grade sections has a class average of 93.18. So I'm super proud of them for that. That was much higher than I expected the class average to be, but that was really neat. We are also doing Principal for a Day as an award for North Texas Giving Day Prize, and it was a family who gave it, so we have 2 winners. I have a kindergartner and a 2nd grader who are winners, so I thought I'd tell you what we're going to do for them. They're, of course, going to greet students with me in the morning. We're going to do pleasantries and announcements, and then we're going to do teacher walkthrough-twos, but since the kindergartner and 2nd grader are probably not going to be real proficient with the online document, I created a document for them as a walkthrough form. So I thought you might be interested to see that. They're going to rate whether the teacher was happy, whether the students were learning, whether the noise level was appropriate for the activity, and then what the best part of what I saw was. And so we're going to let them do that, and then later in the day we'll make photocopies and go deliver them to the teachers so that they get their feedback. We're going to give a school tour, and we've asked a parent to come and pretend to be interested in enrolling in the school and ask the kid to walk them around and show them the school. They're going to, of course, read to a couple of grade levels. They're going to attend Chow with the Chief with me. We're going to have an office staff meeting. We're going to have a budget meeting. We have asked our PAC president to come over and have a meeting about how that child thinks that the money should be spent that was raised at Carnival and Spring Creek. So I'm looking forward to hearing what those ideas are as well. And then they'll participate in sending off at the end of the day, standing out and waving at families too. So in the thick of things, really excited about end of semester events coming up as well. With regard to STAR, and Mr. Tweedy, if you, or Ms. Holder, if you would help me, thank you. We work as a team here passing out your reports. While they're passing those out, I'll say that we're excited about Eduphoria as well. We've been doing manual spreadsheets of benchmark tests, midterms, things like that, where teachers are physically writing or typing in every child's answer to every question on every test so that we can look at this. We're excited to have Eduphoria to disaggregate that data for us. We did a beginning of year benchmark in the first month of school. Because there were so many new families in our campus, we wanted to know where they came to us from. What level are they at coming in? Where do we stand? And so we did a benchmark as well, and then the midterm scores, and we're looking at those scores in Eduphoria as we speak. Because Joni and James did such a great job explaining how to read this document, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in it. I will turn your attention to the second, third, and fourth pages. That is 4th, 5th, and 6th grade reading scores. Those are our strong performances. 4th grade reading has 16 points lower in non-passing. That's the score that the top pea green score, olive green, I believe is what we're calling it tonight. You want that score to be lower. We are 16 points lower than the state average there. I think that's huge. And then approaches, we're 6 points ahead of the state, 7 points ahead of needs, and 8 points ahead of the state in masters. Same story for 4th grade writing, very solid scores there. We're lower than the state for non-passers, above the state in approaches, meets, and masters. Take a look at 5th grade reading. That should be your 4th page. 5 points lower than the state in non-passers, did not meet. And then +5 in approaches, +12 in needs, and +15 in masters. We are higher than the state by 15 points in masters in 5th grade reading. So really solid scores. Same thing in 6th grade. If you'll turn the page again, we're 15 points under the state level for non-passers in reading, 15 points ahead in approaches, 10 points ahead of the state in needs. Really good scores, strong performances there. The math scores are solid, not as strong as the reading scores, but our focus was on reading. We set a 2-year goal last year that all of our students would be on grade level in reading by the end of this school year. And so we are working diligently to make that happen. If you'll recall 2 meetings ago when we presented the initial STAR reports to you from the state, you'll remember that we made 23 to 25 point gains overall from last year to this, or from the first year to the second year in our STAR scores. So really good performance. We are closing those gaps that you were talking about. Those gaps are larger on the Duncanville campus due to our subgroups being so different. But the expectations are the same. This is college prep school. Our methodology is rigorous, and we expect them to step up as we can to make that happen. I would say that, like Joni said, our science scores in 5th grade are the weakest point, and I feel like that's probably a good district goal where we can spend some resources and attention. But things are looking really good, and we're expecting to do as well or better this next time around. So, what questions do you have for me?
The things about that, as I see it, is that it takes you a while to stabilize a good staff. If you took the very first year, you've got one part of staff. And then the second year, you try to improve that staff over what you had before. And the third year, and I think what you're seeing is we had the same thing over here. I mean, it looks great now, but we started way low. And so over 5 years, you've stabilized your staff, you've got returning people, you've got happy people, you've got people bought into the method. This is your 3rd year, right?
Correct.
3rd year. And so, her stabilizing those teachers and getting the right ones in there, now getting there, and so you're starting to see results actually probably even quicker than we did on this campus.
That's a process in itself.
Yeah.
It's just getting the staff where you want it to be. It's a process.
And if you remember back, the problem was we didn't have a frame of reference of what was good or what was bad, okay? We just had a guess. And so now you have, I mean, Shannon went out and talked to a new school, hospital in Arlington that we might do. So now we know what we can expect based upon what we've been able to produce. So I just have to tell you is that you got to remember, her cultural staff is in her third year. And by the time you get to, you're in your sixth, seventh year, you'll see the same thing there.
Well, we're still experiencing student growth as well. First year, we opened with 148 students. We ended the second year with 202 students. We started the third year with 220. So we're still experiencing growth of new families coming in, which is a really exciting prospect. We're excited about that. Dallas campus is going to experience a similar kind of incoming of new families as well. And so it's super important for us to establish that culture of excellence and work ethic that it's going to take for these kids to be really successful. But the teachers are a huge part of that process.
But your budget number, your 220, you added about 10 right there at the school started. So how far are you off on your budget as far as the numbers go?
I believe we're at 9% of income and 8% of expenditure.
No, that's revenue and expenses. I'm talking about.
Funding. We budgeted at 222, which is 85% capacity.
Right.
And that's based on a 95% average daily attendance.
And you're at 220.
And we're at 219, so we're at 83% capacity. 3 students. I need 3 of the right students.
But here's the thing is, if you just hear that, you go, you need 3 off. But what you don't know is that we get paid a higher amount for her students with the demographic that we do over here. And it's considerable. So she's actually hitting her budgets, even though she's 3 students off, which is a guess we all sit around and try to guess. So it's outstanding, outstanding.
Well, and the ones that we've lost in the last couple of weeks have moved away. So.
But your numbers are fine.
The numbers are fine.
Yeah. So, good.
Anybody else have questions coming?
So currently, how does it, I know that you do a lot of effort to bridge kids coming over from your campus to here once they graduate. So is there any type of events or anything that you guys are currently doing or collaborating on?
Yes and no. There is a few events that we do throughout the course of the year. One of them, the biggest event will be towards the end of the year, and we have, what are we calling that event now? Do you remember? Eagle something.
Yeah, Eagle.
It's basically a preview day. So we bus the 6th graders over here for a day, and we partner them with a 6th grader here. And they have a buddy shadow them all day long. They go to classes, they have lunch, they have an assembly where the counselors, the advisors talk to them about what their course options are going to be available to them. We have a performance by the cheerleaders and drama, and just expose them to the things that are going to be available to them when they come over in 7th grade. There are also, we give them information about moving up a level in math, as Kayla was saying, in 7th grade. That's something that we do in February, notify them so that they have time to prepare outside of school if they're interested in that. And then I try to keep as often as possible in front of them what the goal is. Where are we trying to go towards? What kinds of things are they going to experience over here that will help them establish that buy-in?
Besides that, I think our PAC has done a good job of doing family events.
Yes.
So it's
So
the
they get to
Duncan
see
and the Dallas campus together. So they're interacting and getting to know each other some. Plus our Family University event is a district-wide. So we're trying to do some district-wide things.
One of the things that I noticed at the carnival was I saw, I don't know, handfuls of students running around together with Dallas students. And I looked at them and went, I didn't know y'all knew each other. And it's because they were friends at church or at karate or wherever it is in the community that they know each other. We're starting to realize how many students we're receiving in Duncanville specifically based on word of mouth, which is exactly what we want. We want people to tell their friends, this is a great school, you need to come to school here. And we are starting to experience that kind of growth, and it's becoming noticeable. And so I really like that too.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Great job.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, that's first when you take them? Okay.
We're gonna take a break in just a few minutes, but let's, we have still one more board position that's open, and Charlene has a gentleman that she wants to tell us about. You have his resume in your packet, and so I'll let you, Charlene, tell us about Gary.
One of the things that we've done over the years is we have, in looking at different board members, is the variety of experiences that we have, and also the desire to help children.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'll raise it up a notch. And the gentleman that I bring to you all tonight is Dr. Gary Holmes. He lived in North Texas before he went to school for his doctorate at the University of North Texas. But he joined the school in Missouri, Drury University, and you can look at his information in the areas that he teaches, publishes, researches, and also how connected he is to the community. He lives in Midlothian. His wife is a retired principal, and so when he came, I was on the interviewing committee, and I got to know, I had met him earlier through his dean at an accreditation conference, but I got the chance to just really kind of visit with him at that time. And so when he came to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he actually joined where I had joined at UNT Dallas, and I watched him as he acclimated himself, not only with the students, but also with the community as well. He has a servant's heart. He is genuine. What you see is what you get. He is a fine gentleman, and I recommend that we consider Dr. Gary Holmes.
Good. All right, and we presented his resume at the last meeting, I think. So we need to do I have a motion to nominate Gary? Great, thank you. Is there a second? Thanks, John. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll ask Gary to attend our next board meeting, and that'll be his first, and that will fill out our board. Okay, Mrs. Prince, new board member orientation. Tell us about
Okay.
that.
All right, I have it ready. What date? I was looking at my calendar earlier. What is the date of the next board meeting?
It's the second Tuesday of November. I believe it's
I
the
think in
third,
November we
because
changed
of
the Tuesday to
Thanksgiving.
always the second Tuesday.
Right, yes, the second Tuesday, the 13th.
Okay, November 13th. Okay. Unless I'm reading my calendar wrong, that will be fine. I would like to have an hour before we meet for the board meeting. It could be 5 to 6, or we probably need to say 10 till 5, so we can take a little bit of break. If you could be here at 10 till 5, then we'll go over the orientation. Or if you can't, I'll stay an hour after if there's someone will stay and make sure we're,
We'll stay.
give us a permission to be in the building. And then we can get the orientation done. We do have, Mark, Manuel, Drew, Andy, and John. And then you would have Gary if you came.
Yeah.
And I did make enough materials for it, and we'll just have an hour. I have a path of where you find a lot of the stuff that you're gonna have to do on your own. You get your 12 hours of training, but then I have an hour prepared that we will go over. The hour that I prepared for us to go over is some of the notes and some of the things that we paid big bucks for a trainer to come, Dr. Brian Carpenter, if you want to look him up, on the internet, and some of the things that he taught us many years ago, and it was really revolutionized our board. And so we're going to go over some of the things that we went over then in that training for an hour, which that training was 6 hours. So we'll be getting some of the highlights of this. And that's what we'll do.
Okay, so we'll get Ginger to give us, maybe give us a email or something, give us a heads up to remind us to be here an hour before the next board meeting. And we'll get that knocked out.
I will not be able to get there beforehand.
You can come after.
So I
You
can-
if you-
Yeah, I can
you
do
stay.
afterwards, yes.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
I know that probably all of us work.
Sure.
I mean, I guess I'm looking around every one of us, so.
Way to go, Doreen. Okay, no, I understand.
Well, I was looking for
I feel
a thought,
ashamed.
this is not gonna work.
Shame.
So we're gonna do it after now?
We can do it
You can do
before
it
and
either.
after. I'm gonna do it both.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna do.
I'm gonna do it both. You only need to come to one of them. If you can't come
Okay.
before, come after. Unless you didn't pass the first time. Or unless you need to come for remedial or something. Yeah, you can come.
We'll keep the agenda short.
It will be done because we have to meet.
We normally get out in an hour and a half. I told Andy it was an hour and a half.
I've been doing this for a year and a half.
We don't get out in an hour.
But Andy, the
We have-
reason we're doing that, you have to present that start data. That's a requirement, that's why.
Hey, I got no complaints, I'm just happy to be here.
All right, one more item and then we'll take a break. And that is, all of you have this Texas Education Agency, this form. All of you should have that.
Yes.
And that needs to be filled out and returned to Ginger tonight. So,
It should be, for the most part, filled out, so really it's for you to verify that the information on there is correct, and then for you to sign the signature page, and then leave the whole package. If you have changes, you'll just mark it out and change it to the correct information, and then sign the signature page and leave them with you, please.
okay, so we'll do that, and we're gonna take I'm sorry, I know we're going pretty long tonight, but it's important. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then when we come back, we'll be in a closed session. So, and I'd like everybody to stay for that, please, if you can. So 10 minutes. We'll meet back 8:25, and
All right.
When do the sandwiches get here?
they should have been here, John.
I like the way you think.
Popcorn. Yeah, popcorn, right.
That's a Jody thing, popcorn.